Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to All Beer Inside. We are wrapping up our Capital Region adventures and wrapping it up in Glen Falls, New York. Joining me is Jack of Mean Max Brew Works.
Happy to be here.
Thank you very much for having us today and speaking with us about Mean Max and this second location we'll eventually get to as well.
Yeah.
But I look forward to drinking some of your beers and talking about Mean Max.
Cheers to that.
You brought me out 5 delicious looking tasters here to try. What am I beginning with?
Yeah, you really ran the gamut. We've got light beer, dark beer, a little bit of everything for you. Up first is going to be the Glen Street Lager, so named because we are right here on Glen Street, and that is made with 100% New York State ingredients, helping us fulfill our commitment to be a New York State farm brewery. So you've got New York grown two-row malt, New York grown hops in there as well. And it's a easy drinking light lager.
Awesome, as we do.
Cheers.
A toast. It's a little more than malty. What's that other flavor I'm getting?
It's straight two-row as far as the malt goes. Yeah, but it's definitely got a good backbone to complement the hops that are in there along with it too.
Yeah, it's very unique. It's a unique lager for me.
Yeah, so that's one of kind of the 3 traditional lagers that we offer. We've got that one. We've got 26, which is a Pilsner, and then we've got our yet-to-be-named Troy Lager as well.
Okay, awesome. And so, who is Mean Max?
Mean Max was a cat.
Okay.
and that you can kind of see it will now be our old logo. We're phasing in a new one at the moment, actually. But the cat, the whiskers, Max was a cat, and he belonged to one of our owners. And what he likes to say now is that Max was not necessarily mean, Max was misunderstood. And so the logo actually comes from a drawing that a family member did, a family member or a friend, if I'm not mistaken. And so the MM, the whiskers, the eyes, kind of came out of that interaction with a maybe not so friendly, maybe misunderstood cat.
Was it a brewery cat? I know it's becoming a big thing in Canada where they adopt feral cats to basically make sure that you don't have grain loss from rats and mice. You chuck in a feral cat and it leaves prizes for you at the front door.
I don't think it's a bad idea. Max was a house cat, but could we use one around here? Fortunately, we haven't seen any mice or any problems, but not opposed to a brewery cat. I think it's a pretty good idea. I know the guys, back when Artisanal used to be at their old location, they were above a distillery, and the distillery, these big windows down on the first floor, and you could see their cat often lounging on the forklift, and I was like, that's kind of a cool idea.
Well, you guys, from what I've seen, it's bringing your own food or you deal with food in the area.
Yep.
You're dog friendly here as well?
Dog friendly here as well, yep, absolutely. And we've got the dog bowls with a little bit of water out for them, and happy to have them out on the patio, and then, in here in the tap room. Well-behaved dogs,
yes,
always
clearly.
welcome. Yeah, always a nice caveat to throw in.
You don't need some like pug or corgi just barking at everybody. It's like,
hey,
stop it.
It's the same thing as bringing kids in too.
Oh,
I bring my kids in sometimes, and I'm like, guys, quiet. We're at Daddy's work.
And you just chuck them on the golden tea.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. So I read on the website, you guys focus on what is called the local core mentality, Locavore mentality. What is that about?
Yeah, it's about just being a part of your local community. We're right here in downtown Glens Falls, right on Glen Street. I mean, there's people, coming back and forth and walking by the windows every day, and then we open up the doors at 5 o'clock and folks stream in, and it's a matter of just having a good relationship, a working relationship and a friendship with the other restaurants, the other breweries, that we share our space with. Our back alley backs right up to our friends next door at Radici and at some other great local restaurants as well, at Pharmacy that's right back there. And so, we offer their menus in our tap room as well. And we'll, kind of with a walkie-talkie call back and forth and, say if you want to order something off their menu, they'll whip it up for you and we'll go grab it. And it's a matter of supporting each other. If one of us, one day we had a bigger crowd than we were anticipating one day and didn't have enough ice. And so we ran next door and said, hey, like asking your neighbor for a cup of sugar or a cup of milk, like it's, 1875. We're over there like, please, sir, can you spare a bucket of ice? And, everybody's always willing to help each other out. And it's been a big part of what we've tried to do is to be a part of our community, support those in our community, and do whatever we can to ingrain ourselves in that sense of the community. Our owner lives right here in Glens Falls. All of us are within a 30-minute drive of here, so we all know the area really well, and a good portion of our beers have an Adirondack-themed name or are named directly after a high peak in the Adirondack. So we recognize that we get a lot of people who go through there, so we want to be a stop for them on the way. You know, if, hey, you're going to go hike Rooster Comb, take some Rooster Comb up with you.
There you go.
Granted, it's about a 9% double IPA, so maybe share it with a friend when you get up to the top.
Yeah. No, like at 18, I climbed a mountain and I drank like a 40 of really bad beer because I was 18 and in Quebec and you're allowed to drink that age. And you're like, why did I do this? I regret everything I've done because you got to go down.
Yep.
And if it's like Quebec or here, if it's wintertime, you got to make sure you don't slip and slide down the mountain.
Yeah, I see people post pictures from the top of the mountain with a beer, which we love. We always share them when people post them, but I'm like, whew, I hope you brought a buddy.
Yeah, for sure. How big did the community step up when the lockdowns happened?
Significantly. Okay. I mean, we had a time just like everybody did where we weren't sure what the next step was going to be. It was changing, kind of day by day. And that's actually when I came on to work here at Mean Max part-time, was kind of at the height of the pandemic. They were transitioning obviously more toward canning. We had kind of primarily been focused here in the tap room and on distribution to local bars and restaurants, but with everything that was happening, we bought an entire 18-wheeler full of cans and said, we need to step up our canning game, and they put out an ad looking for somebody to help in the cellar, and that's how I got my start.
I mean, canning line stepping up, it seems like an understatement from everything we have in front of us. You should,
and I'll show you when we're done, the label collection in the basement. This represents about a third, maybe a quarter of everything that we actually put into cans. And the only thing, kind of stopping us right now, because we brew 5 days a week to support 21 draft lines. Our 22nd is a cider that we bring in. Mm-hmm. And most of those batches that we do are run in a split batch, some for kegs for the tap room or for distribution, and then the rest of it into cans to either let people take home with them or to get distributed out to local beverage centers and things like that. So the amount of labels that we have downstairs just for different brands is pretty staggering when you consider our small size.
Yeah, no, it's pretty impressive. I mean, you guys, and obviously, how many owners are there that are part of
Just one owner and 2 brewers.
Wow. 5 days a week sounds like you guys don't work enough almost.
It's funny when I go to other places and, see what they're working with and say, how often do you brew? And they say, once, twice a week in the busy season maybe. And we'll brew 5 days a week. And while one of us is brewing, the other brewer is processing the batch from, they went into the bright tank the day before. So we turn beer out pretty quick.
And then those working, your beer tenders, let's say, those are all, I'm guessing, locals as well, or people within the area who
absolutely. Our general manager, who used to be kind of our head bartender, he's since moved into a new role in managing both tap rooms for us. He lives right up the street. 2 of our other bartenders are within Glens Falls or the surrounding area. And then, we've got our new spot down in Troy and a couple of locals from down there who are, kind of taking that same mantra that we've had up here and brought it down to Troy.
So we're going to talk about Troy, but let me get to this second beer.
Yeah, what's up next? We've got Wolf's Chin, right?
Wolf's Chin.
Wolf's Chin is our session IPA. That's going to have Sultana and Eureka hops, a little bit of oats in there for a little bit of haziness and body. But it's been a great big seller for us as far as that session IPA category goes, still having a good amount of flavor.
It feels the session IPAs are starting to take an upswing, and lagers and pilsners and ales are really starting to step back up again too, I find.
Definitely.
New England's are still like the crazy haze is happening, but I feel
it's a little saturated, for sure.
So awesome, as would you. A toast. Ooh, 4.5%.
We're at about 4.5. Yep.
Wow, this is dangerous beer.
It's still with a good amount of flavor. Yeah, we've experimented with a couple of sessions, and that one, that unique combination of hops, because it's a really simple malt bill. Again, 2 row and oats, and something about those 2 hops. You'll find another Eureka featured beer in there later on, but those play really well together. We're really happy with that one.
It's got like a creaminess texture I wasn't expecting.
A little bit of that oat character coming through. Yeah, definitely.
That's friggin' delicious.
All right.
So, awesome. So yeah, how did the launch of the second tap room in Troy come about? Like, you guys were not satisfied just being in Glen Falls. You want to expand in the state of New York?
I would say the simple answer to that would be slowly.
Okay.
It took a little while to find a place, to get through all the red tape, and we did all the work ourselves. We walked into this beautiful historic building, that had kind of been closed down into these smaller spaces within it, and we walked in and said, let's knock that wall out. Let's knock that wall out. And it's a very similar layout to our Glens Falls tap room, and all these historic buildings are kind of long and narrow.
Yeah.
So we went down there, and over the course of about 8 weeks or so, probably 8 to 12 weeks, 2-3 months, I'd say, we knocked down walls, spackled, painted, replaced light fixtures.
Also brewing.
Built the bar ourselves. Our owner and our general manager, Matt and Tori, they were sort of the driving force behind all of that work. Matt's very technically inclined. I've never actually seen him call somebody to fix something. If he doesn't know how to do it, he'll watch a YouTube video and he'll try and fix it. And I'd say he's got like a 99% success rate. So
that's not bad, as long as he's not electrocuting himself or anything.
Maybe 90%. Yeah, no, he let me deal with taking out the old light fixtures after showing me how to do it. So it was, and that's in a microcosm, that was kind of our small brewing community here at Mean Max. The 6 or 7 of us who were full time, kind of going down there and building this thing up from scratch. By no means was it a new construction or anything, but when you look at what the building was when we started, and then where it is now and all the work that we put into it, to see those doors finally open a couple of weeks ago was a really, really cool feeling.
Any idea what your Glens Falls location used to be? Is the same thing, a furniture store?
This place has had a kind of a long and storied history. The wall behind me didn't used to be here, so I believe, and we're going back in before my time, but at one point this was a nightclub.
Okay.
There was a DJ stand directly above the brewing area, and at one point I believe these columns were covered in carpet.
Okay.
So that was an interesting, and at that point it was our current owner and one of our former owners, who's his brother-in-law. They came in and, again, did all the work themselves, stripped everything down, cleaned everything up, and kind of built their dream.
Put in some central air, which is always nice for specific summer days.
Especially when you got a direct fire brew kettle and an open flame under there. Yeah, definitely nice.
Is that part of the green process you guys use when brewing? Is the flame? Because I saw on the website you guys use green process for your use in brewing.
Yeah, it's a direct fire natural gas system. Okay. Again, like I said, it's a 3-barrel system. We use hot water on demand, so no hot water heater or anything like that. The water just comes in, very little waste from that and things like that. So it's been a growing process, kind of learning how to turn as much beer through that as we can.
So it seems like one of Mean Max's kind of mission statements is trying to remain as green as possible. It's, beers from nature, let's give back to nature in the end? Yeah,
definitely a little bit. There's definitely some of that, especially with our commitment to being a farm brewery. We always look at some of our beers. We found some great hop suppliers through the New York State Craft Beer Guild who have helped supply us with some great New York State grown hops. We do wet hop beers. In the fall, we've sourced hops from a farm down in Half Moon called Rockin' Hops. We're going to source some out of Skinny Atlas, New York, out in the Finger Lakes this year. And so that commitment to that farm brewing license that we have, we've taken a couple of different beers and looked at how can we adapt these to meet that threshold to support those local growers and others here around New York State.
Is there currently a brewing section in the Troy tap room, or is it?
No brewing down in Troy for right now.
Driving everything down by a truck?
Just driving everything down. Our Nevin, our sales guy, for him, it's just another account he's got to go drop beer off at.
But it's the same, but the different beer account.
Yes, all the same beer with the exception of the Troy Lager that will be exclusive to down there.
And then speaking of that, have you noticed? I'm assuming you've been to both locations.
Yeah.
do you see there's a difference in the crowds between both locations?
I would say that up here, we definitely get a little bit of that touristy crowd that you might get, headed up to Lake George. Like I said, headed up to the Adirondacks, somebody who might be on their way to go camping or hiking or something like that who stops in. Those Adirondack themed beers are a huge draw for us. So they come in and they see Rooster Comb, or they see Tahoe, or they see Lake Tier of the Clouds, and they say, "Oh, I'm going hiking up that way this weekend. I want to drink a Rooster Comb on top of Rooster Comb. I'm going to go swim in Johns Brook. I'm going to bring some Johns Brook with me." So that's been a really fun part of that, is for people to come in and tell us, "Hey, I'm coming to buy this beer because I'm going to hike that mountain." That's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Troy's still pretty new for us, and obviously we don't have the old enough college crowd at the moment from places like Siena or RPI.
Impact.
And so I would imagine, that maybe kind of as the school year picks up a little bit, we might see some of that, from the older crowd there in the colleges. And then it's just a matter of getting the word out about Troy too. So people, I was in there though last Saturday, and we left, because again, I had my kids with me. So I was like, let's get out of here before you cause a scene. So we left around 5:30, and right around then was when people were starting to come in. But Troy runs an incredible farmers market on Saturdays. Widely regarded, I think, as one of the biggest and best farmers markets in the capital area. So, and they shut down streets that we happen to be right in the middle of. So in order to accommodate that, I believe it starts at 9. And to accommodate that, we open right at 10 on Saturday mornings, and people come right in the door wanting to grab a 4-pack, or we had one guy come in a couple weeks ago for a case of beer. It's like, because and we love this, that, that idea of going to get a craft beer, while you're at a farmer's market, we don't have a farm, but it's a farm product. It's a craft product, and the same way that you can go and pick up fresh produce or a craft or things like that, pick up a craft beer while you're at it.
And for that farm brewing license, I understand it's at least 60% of the ingredients going into your beers have to be from New York State.
Yeah, and it changes. I think it goes up either every year. There's an increase, and not an exponential increase, but a slight increase every now and then. And I believe it's around 60 right now. Yeah, and so all of our New York State beers are well over that.
And I know at one point New York State was the hop growing capital of America.
Yeah.
Then moved to the West Coast. Do you see maybe a return coming? Because you mentioned there's a hop grower that you guys deal with locally.
I think so, yeah. Certainly with some varieties, some of your exotics are always going to be,
Yeah, you're not going to get a New Zealand hop growing here.
Yeah, we might not get Matika, grown in Half Moon, New York, but I would love it if we could.
Yeah.
But we did 2 harvest beers last year in late August, and I actually went out on a Sunday, and the guys in the local homebrew club, because obviously that's how I started brewing too, the grower invites them all out every year to help. And so he said, "We're harvesting this, and if you want it, you can pick it up." And so I said, "All right, great, put me to work for a couple hours." And I went out and actually helped cut down the bines, pick all the hops off, get them loaded up, get them ready to go to the processor and things like that, pick up all the little ones that fall on the ground. And then he took them to the processor, and then that Monday morning, Matt and Joel came in and they started on the first batch, and then we were going to run everything through wet hop at the end on its way down to the fermenter. And so by the time I had come in, I went over to this guy's house, picked up the hops in a grain bag, bundled them up, brought them up, and we ran one batch through, and then while that one was boiling, we mashed in on the second one, and we did a double brew day with hops that had been picked 13, 14 hours earlier.
That's cool.
So it was really cool to be a part of that. And and he grows, 7, 8 different varieties. These guys out in Skinny Atlas have 10, 12 different varieties, and some stuff that maybe you wouldn't expect. It's obviously a lot of your noble hops and more traditional, the big 3 Cs and things like that. But I'd love to see them expanding a little bit. For my own brewing at home, I got cashmere from him last year, and I was like, it's not the most exotic thing in the world, but it's got a little more flavor to it, maybe.
It's one of my favorite hops in beer. So.
Me too.
I mean, speaking of that, as a brewer, what's your craft beer journey like? I assume you started at 21 or maybe
Yeah,
below.
yeah, definitely.
21 legally in the USA. I'm guessing you started with macro. What brought you to the world of craft beer?
I think the first time I ever had an IPA when I was definitely 21. Yes.
Or no, wait, 18. You traveled to Montreal
I went to
at 18.
Yes,
yeah, okay.
that's exactly what it was. That's exactly what it was. And the first one I ever had was, I think, a Harpoon IPA. And I took a sip of it and I spit it out. And I said, that is gross. Let me go back to Bud Light. And I still love a Bud Light. And now I love a Harpoon. And now I love so much more. But I don't know. I think the first beer that I really remember being like, and it's funny because it's not all that dissimilar, was probably like a Dogfish 60 Minute. I loved that. That was the first time too that I was like, what is that hop? I need to know what that is. I love that taste, that pine resin from a Dogfish 60 and the Simcoe hops. And so then when I started home brewing, I was like, everything has to have Simcoe. Everything has to have Simcoe. And I was like, okay, maybe not everything, but
as much as possible.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was sort of, I guess, the introduction. And then it wasn't until I started working here. One of my favorite programs that we run through here is our sour program, and it's called Never Say Never, whatever the flavor is. And it's called that because when the owner opened, he said, I'm never going to make a sour. I think they're gross. And now they're some of our most popular beers. We've run from standard fruit flavors into now tropical fruit, and then back flavored with a little bit of marshmallow and vanilla to balance out that sourness and kind of the tartness from the fruit. So it's been, and I didn't even get into those until I started working here. I was like, gosh, everybody likes these. Maybe I should try one. And I tried a raspberry sour, and then it's like, wow, that's really good. Blackberry sour, and now a mixed berry marshmallow sour. And it's, still evolving. Something like, this is our, this is called Redbeards. It's a resurrection of an old recipe it's an ESB.
Okay.
But when we put it on the menu as an ESB, people see those traditional styles like you did with a dark mild, a little bit, and they're like, well,
let's talk about that. I think that's my next one. So
that's a return to a traditional brewing style. Okay. It's 3.5%, a little bit of roasty malt in there, but very traditional. And so we rebranded this as a amber ale. Okay. And people like it more.
Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, just seeing dark milds ESBs is so rare, but whenever I see them, that, and clearly when Marzens and Oktoberfest come around.
Sure, yeah.
Yes, I want those. I want the classic styles. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're phenomenal.
Ooh, nice malty.
It's just something, I think, for some reason, I think a lot of people think English. Yeah. And that, maybe it's going to be warm like they do in the UK. I don't know.
Well, I mean, you're brainwashed by TV and media.
Yeah.
You see the old school guy with his cigarette sticking out of his mouth, and he's, what do you want? And he's got the pump handle. So, it's, well, those are delicious. Unfortunately, I've never been to Europe to try beer, but I'm sure those are delicious. I'd like my beer a little cooler sometimes, but not freezing cold where I don't get the flavor. I like it a little cooler.
I think that's fair.
Yeah. So then what got you into, from drinking that 60-minute IPA, what got you into, hey, I can make this on my own?
When I pulled up to the house that I was going to live in my senior year of college, I had a U-Haul full of stuff for my final year of school, and a friend of mine said, who I was living with, he said, hey, I got a beer making kit from a relative for my birthday. You want to make that? And I said, yeah, I don't have to return the U-Haul till tomorrow. I left everything in the truck, and we made beer in the afternoon. And by the end of that year, there was a local homebrew store in Connecticut where we were. And by the end of that year, I think of the 7 of us that lived in the house, we had all made multiple 5-gallon batches. And it was just sort of the thing that we did that year. And everybody else kind of fell away from it. Okay. And I was like, I'm going to keep going with this. This is a lot of fun. And then, like I said, at the height of COVID, these guys reached out. I had actually won a contest that they ran through the local homebrew club. They said, everybody make a brown ale, bring it in, and the guys from Mean Max are going to come taste it, and whoever wins, they'll make their beer and they'll put it on tap. And so I won that, and then saw their Facebook post about needing a job, something like 4-5 years later, and I said, hey, I don't know if you guys remember me, but here's my story, and I'm looking for a job, or I'm interested in filling that job that you guys have. And they said, sure, come on in and we'll talk. And it all worked out.
I don't know what you went from before, but I'm sure, I mean, I could taste the passion here. Yeah, I'm sure you went from, I have an okay job to, I'm going to go brew. It might not be the big bucks that everybody claims it is, which through this show we learned it's not at all, but it's your passion is in glass, your art form is here in this glass.
Absolutely. So I was a TV morning news anchor down in Schenectady.
Okay.
I'd been doing that in Schenectady for about 6.5 years, and Myrtle Beach in Texas before that. You know, I was morning anchorman, and when I started here, I would go to work in the morning. Best thing is that I was out by about 11 o'clock in the morning because I had to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning
exactly.
to do the morning news, and then I'd come home, change into stuff to work in the brewery, and I'd come here and put in 4 or 5 hours, 2 to 3 days a week. And it was just to help them turn out as many cans as we could. And then when my contract at the TV station was up, I said, gosh, I wonder if they can find a spot for me full time. And it was just about the time that they were looking at expanding and opening a second taproom or a second brewing location. It was all kind of up in the air at that point. And then they said, yeah, we'll bring you on and we'll teach you how to brew, and on our system, and we'll double our output, or whatever it winds up growing by.
It's quite the shift, like TV to make a beer. I mean, as a Montrealer, I have to ask this question since I travel to Plattsburgh all the time. Do you ever meet Tom Messner from NBC News? He was the weather anchor. He's like super famous in Plattsburgh. I
know the name.
Okay.
So our signal didn't reach Plattsburgh.
Okay.
So I believe they have their own market, or I think they get their news from Burlington.
Yeah.
So, all right, that makes sense. That's why I know the name. So I don't think I ever crossed paths with him, but I certainly know the name.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anybody around here that doesn't.
Yeah, for sure. There's not many Montrealers who don't know who Tom Messner is, especially if you travel to Lake George or Plattsburgh.
Sure.
The parking lots are just full of Quebec plates.
Yep,
so.
yep.
That's awesome. So you mentioned kind of discovered through online, hey, come here and brew a beer. Is that still a thing of, hey, let's have the occasional brewing competition between home brewers at Mean Max?
It's something that I haven't seen us do since coming on board. Whether or not I know, it'd be a lot of fun.
You're like, mine, nobody else's.
I also don't think the beer that I made sold particularly well.
Okay.
But I don't know, it'd be interesting to have them go pull the numbers. I'd be curious. I've never done that. It's a good question. But it was one of those things that, it goes back to that kind of ethos of being involved in the community. And, and I didn't realize it at the time that when I first came back to the brewery and re-met Joel, who's, been the original brewer here, I didn't realize that he was one of the ones, he and Matt, the owner, were the ones who were there judging my beer that day. And so we had a laugh about, I still have the pictures on my phone of, when I came in and made the beer. And I was like, that was you all that way back then? He was like, yeah, I haven't gone anywhere. I've been here the whole time.
That's cool. I like it. I like breweries that do that, their customers are home brewers. It's, hey, let's shoot that out. And, hey, guys, try something and we'll have let's say, a Pilsner winner, a Stout winner, and a something else winner.
Yeah, absolutely. It's again, a great way to, bring in those craft beer fans and kind of make them feel like they're a little bit included in the process even. It's always a fun conversation.
And then also using social media to announce the release of your second tap room.
Yep.
Did you find yourself and the owners, was there good engagement of, hey, like we already go to Mean Max, there's a second one coming, let's head down to Troy. Troy's what, half hour, 35 minutes?
Troy's a little farther, 45.
Yeah. Okay.
You hit a little bit of traffic on the way down, it might be closer to an hour. But we wanted somewhere that was outside of Glens Falls. We didn't want a second location, that was, I guess, easy to get to from where we are. We wanted to grow, we wanted to expand.
Yeah.
So we looked at, kind of everywhere in the capital region. We looked at, Albany, we looked at Schenectady, we looked at Troy, we looked at Ballston Spa, where you guys were at Speckled Pig.
Yeah.
We had our eyes on a couple of spots not all that far from their current tap room. And it just so happened that Troy worked for us. We liked the spot quite a bit. We were able to kind of see the vision of what it could become, and then saw that, okay, if we put in the elbow grease, we do the work, then we can turn this into what we want it to be, and it wound up working out beautifully for us. But the reaction online has been stupendous. I mean, just the amount of people who, not only from the Glens Falls and kind of the North Country area, but folks from down in that Albany, Schenectady, Troy, and even farther south into the Hudson Valley who say, again, that goes back to that, I come up your way to go to the Adirondacks, to go to Lake George, so I've stopped in, but it's only 2-3 times a year. When we go up to the cabin, when we do this or that, it's like, oh my gosh, I don't have to go as far now. I can go check out your new tap room. And I believe down there we have 14 draft lines. So we're going to offer, almost, and everything that we have up here that doesn't go on draft winds up going down in cans.
Yeah.
So everything on draft, plus the extra 8 beers that are going to be available in cans, plus whatever's not available on draft that's in cans. So the same wide spectrum of beers that you're used to getting up here in Glens Falls, you'll be able to get down in Troy.
Just slap them in the fridge and they're there.
Exactly.
So, and buy them in the tap room, and if they don't have them in the tap room, I'm guessing maybe a couple of stores, distributors will have them nearby. So
I mentioned, kind of the tour de force that is brewing and turning out and flipping beer every day. Our sales guy, Nevin, is a one-man wrecking crew of delivery machine. He makes his way from Lake George to Albany to Lake Placid, out to Schuylerville, down to Troy. He has put more miles on our delivery van in the last year or so than I think it had in the years prior.
I think I've seen you guys at Craft Beer Cabin in Plattsburgh.
Wouldn't surprise me.
I don't think it's technically Plattsburgh. Whatever.
But not
it's
far.
It's just after Plattsburgh.
Yep.
So if you're traveling from Montreal, it's before Plattsburgh. If you're leaving Plattsburgh, it's just after Plattsburgh.
Okay.
So it's if I want to head to Dannemora prison, I could go get beer first.
Yeah, there you go.
If I want to go get arrested, I'll just get a beer
Hopefully
first.
not at the same time.
Yeah, no. Let's get another beer here, and then I got some more questions from there. But
that's going to be your John's Brook. That is our middle of the road IPA. That Rooster Comb and Lake Tier that I mentioned, those are both 8.5, 9%ers. John's Brook clocks in right about 6. It's going to be Eureka and Mosaic hops, so a little bit of that same flavor profile from the Wolf's Chin with more oats, more malt, but again, a really simple malt build, hoping to highlight the hops.
A little bit bigger percentage too. So
that too.
Awesome. A toast. Ooh, yeah. Oh, I could have a bunch of these while watching a movie.
That addition of the Mosaic really helps to up that profile too. The Sultana is great in the Wolf's Chin, but Mosaic just has a little bit of a bigger profile.
Yeah, no, that's delicious, and that creaminess again. It's the, like you said, probably the oats.
Yep, definitely, and you'll get more of that.
At least for the IPAs I've had, it's got quite the oat profile, which I enjoy the creaminess more than like that punchy bitterness.
Definitely, and so all of our IPAs that fall into that New England style. John's Brook being one of them, they feature a hefty dose of oats and a hefty dose of wheat flakes as well. So that helps give it that body, that creaminess, something to kind of offset the big juiciness of the hops.
All right, so let's continue along the social media line. You guys are using Instagram as a naming contest for a beer coming out.
Instagram and Facebook,
okay.
But all social media. So if you want to suggest a name for our Troy Lager, we're soliciting whatever you got, and we have Glen Street. So in Troy, we're at 251 River Street. So we said, gosh, do we just do River Street? Do we do Troy's the birthplace of Uncle Sam? Do we do Uncle Sam's Lager? Do we, it's known as the Collar City for making shirt collars, Collar City Lager. But we kind of had the thought that, maybe our fans, maybe our, the members of that community, again, trying to involve them, do they have a better idea? So we put it out there and said, name the beer. What do you got? And some of my favorite responses have been the people that suggest something and then they give you the context behind it. I didn't know that Troy was also known as the Iron City because they used to make horseshoes.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's kind of cool. And then somebody mentioned a brewery that was open there in the late 1800s, Fitzgerald Brothers, I think. And so they said, Fitzy Lager or something like that. And so all those, it's not somewhere that any of us, with the exception of, some of our beer tenders who work down there, we're not as familiar with the area, but we want to be, and we want to learn about it. So just reading through some of the comments and some of the suggestions has been really cool to be like, and I found myself, you know, I'll Google something that somebody suggests. I'm like, what is that? What does that mean?
Yeah.
And go in there and look at that. And so we're going to pick a winner out of that and announce that when we do our grand opening.
And what's the prize?
$50
Gift
to
card?
use. Yep, you use at either location, and you know, your name is part of the Mean Max history books.
That's awesome. Speaking of that Mean Max history books, you guys did a Kickstarter campaign. What was all that about?
That was just a way to get going, and it you know, sort of goes all the way back to that. You know, our original owners, our owner and his brother-in-law, were members of this community. You know, their kids go to school here, and so if you look on the board, you know, you'll find family members, you'll find friends, you'll find people that still come into the tap room this day. So that really helped us get off the ground and get our feet going.
And you guys are coming up on 9 years in the Glens Falls locations.
9 years this weekend. Yep.
Okay.
So actually, it's going to be Joel and I behind the bar. So we thought it would be fun to, you know, to celebrate 9 years. You know, come in and you want to pester the brewers. You know, ask a question, whatever it may be. You know, come in and talk to us, and we'll see if we can't remember how to sling beer.
What are the big plans that'll, when this is released, unfortunately, it'll be after the anniversary, but what are some of the big plans you guys have for the anniversary?
We'll have a couple of different specials running, things like that. We'll have live music, and we are going to do, my boss loves a beer float.
Okay.
Like one of our dark stouts, whether it's one of the pastry stouts, a little bit of ice cream on top. I thought he was crazy.
Yeah.
The first time I saw him do it, but he did it with a brown ale and mint chocolate chip ice cream, and maybe he's onto something.
I mean, speaking of that pastry stout, that's my last beer I got here.
It is, and doesn't look like it.
Yeah, I know. When I saw this color, I went, did he pour the right one?
That is antimatter. That is a blonde stout made with vanilla wafer cookies.
Oh my God, the nose is fantastic.
Yeah, we're really happy with that one.
Wow.
And that started as the first kind of in that true pastry stout category that we did was one with Oreos. And then we did another one with peanut butter and chocolate. And then I'd seen the blonde stout phase, that is peanut butter and fluff.
Yeah, see this, I discovered this, your coconuts, and your Mexican dark lager in Saratoga. So.
Yeah, and so this was a kind of a challenge to, can we do it blonde? Can we throw a little coffee on the back end, some cocoa nibs, and see if we can't still get that stout character?
I want this in a candle.
It's a really good idea.
A toast. Oh my gosh.
A lot of flavor.
Wow, yeah. But it's not like punchy, crazy, over the top, like mind-blowing flavor.
I don't think it's overly chewy,
balanced.
overly sweet. It's, I mean, everybody that tries it has that reaction, the whoa.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted. When we made that beer, when we were creating that recipe, I wanted it to look the opposite of the way that it tasted.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted people to taste it and go, this is the wrong beer, this is the wrong color.
Yeah.
And it's had that reaction.
Because it doesn't say pastry white stout, it just says pastry stout.
Right,
so
right.
As a beer drinker, you're assuming it's a darker beer.
Right, our dark beers are called dark matter. We have dark matter cookies and cream, dark matter peanut butter chocolate, and we call the light version antimatter.
Mm-hmm. It's quite the change.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm going to shift from my next question to like this crazy beer. I mean, I'd like to, you know, does the owner pretty much give you guys carte blanche to do what you want? Like,
so
make something and hope it sells?
There's a little bit of an advantage to being on a small system, you know, in that we can experiment. If we make something that we're not in love with, we're not, you know, we don't have 10 barrels of it to, you know, pretend to push out because even we don't like it, you know, and we're never going to do that anyway, but he's given us a lot of free reign. As long as we get the, you know, the core beers done that we need to get done, you know, we have a folder on the computer that's just ideas, you know, and we'll just start making a recipe, coming up with something. Matt can't stand Southern Hemisphere hops. New Zealand, Australia, he doesn't like Galaxy, doesn't like Matika. There's just something about it that doesn't agree with his palate. But we have a rotating hop series beer, and we were trying to come up with something new, and I said, let us do New Zealand,
Yeah.
or Australia, let's do something. And he said, okay, fine, you can do one. And he didn't like it, and that's fine. That's fine.
But did people buy it?
But it moved.
Yeah,
It
so-
moved. We did it with Matiri and Matika, if I'm not, and Vic Secret. So we had a little New Zealand, little Australia, and yeah, it was just a fun experiment and something like the antimatter. You know, we all stood around the computer looking at Beersmith, going, what if we did this? What if we did that? All right, switch this for that. Put this in there instead. And so there are days that, you know, we'll get done with what we have to get done, and then we'll sit around and have a beer and go, anybody got any ideas? And that's I mean, that couldn't be, to me, any more fun.
Yeah.
Just to sit around with your friends and your coworkers and say, what do you guys want to make tomorrow? Let's do something cool.
Love it.
Yeah.
So you guys are the first ones we've spoken to in the capital region. Darts League.
Yeah.
What brought that about?
Big darts fans. Lots of darts fans amongst the old guard, if you will, the ownership. And so, yeah, we have 3 dartboards down in Troy as well, but Thursday nights up here. During the season, we take a break during the summertime because everybody's so busy, but every Thursday night up here, we have about a, 10, 12 team dart league.
So that's 24 people drinking beer.
Yeah, it brings people in all the time, yeah. And we get people who substitute in, you know, when somebody can't make it.
Yeah.
We get people who just kind of come and watch and hang out. But yeah, it's an unbelievable way to bring some 30-odd people into your tap room on what otherwise might be a quiet Thursday.
And then you guys also do trivia nights and
Trivia
other
nights
events?
on Wednesday,
Okay.
and we're by the time this is out, we'll have launched trivia down in Troy
Okay.
on Wednesday nights as well. And yeah, those are kind of the standard 2. You know, who doesn't have trivia these days?
Yeah.
But you know, you throw a darts league in there as well, and I'm still pushing for a golden tee league as well. I'd like to get that going.
Yeah.
But you have to dress as a golfer.
Yeah. Oh, there you
Come
go.
in and play.
Can I dress as a disc golfer? Because I play disc.
There you go. That'd work too. And well, we have. I should mention we have the Glens Falls Run Club.
Okay.
They come out every Tuesday, meet right out front. Everybody goes for a run, and then they all come back and have a beer.
I mean,
And
it also
that's-
looks like if you shift to the table, you could do a cornhole league in here if you guys wanted.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I
So-
mean, there's room for
Yeah.
whatever, and you know, the
Except
darts isn't limited to Thursday. You know, they can come in and play. We got darts behind the bar, and people can play whenever they want.
Like you said, long and narrow.
Yes,
So
exactly,
it's-
exactly.
You need that long part for cornhole. So-
Yeah, and I guess rumor on the street is that we are going to be competing in a curling tournament against other breweries this
You have that
October.
Cool
There's
arena, right?
it'll be down at this, if I'm not mistaken, the Schenectady Curling Club.
Okay.
They've offered to kind of have an event and have the brewers go against each other, and I've been wanting to try curling ever since I saw it in the Winter Olympics, so I'm gonna give it a shot.
Mean Max kind of participate in any other events, or is it just?
We do the New York State Craft Beer Festival. We do Tap New York, you know, big festival out at the Woodstock Fairgrounds. We participate in the food truck corral that's every Thursday.
That's cool.
So we bring beer over to that, and something like our creamsicle beers, you know, especially during the summertime when people are out at those, always a huge hit. A little taste of summer. And then the Park Theater, which is right next door, or right a street over, I should say. They do a concert series, a comedy series, bring in performances, and we kind of run the bar at that as well. So you can get Mean Max over there while you're taking in a show too.
I mean, mentioning festivals, you've only been here a couple of years from the sound of it, but how fun or frustrating are those beer festivals?
A mix of both.
Okay.
We had a good showing last year. That Dark Matter cookies and cream stout, the one made with Oreos, that took a silver medal in the pastry stout category last year. This year we brought 3 beers that we thought were fantastic, and we got skunked last year. So, or you know, earlier this year I should say. So that was a bit of a bummer. But what always resonates, you know, for me, and that this goes back to, you know, when I compete as a home brewer too, is that the interactions that you have with people, I don't think, unless you're really good at it, it's really hard to fake whether or not you like something. And just the interactions that we get with people, the fact that we come home with empty kegs,
Yeah.
you know, and that we know that people are drinking them, liking them, And I can tell right away when somebody comes up for a pour of something and they go, oh, it's very good. And I'll watch them and I'll watch them dump it in one of the dump buckets or something like that. But, you can kind of pick those out, but it's the positive interactions that you have with people that I think are still really encouraging.
And then along that lines too, how beneficial is the New York State brewing beer app for people discovering you guys?
Oh, phenomenal. It's phenomenal. We have people come in all the time. We do the craft beer passport. We're a stop on that so people can come in. And
you guys are the last brewery.
We're right up there, yeah.
And then it's Adirondack Winery right above you guys.
Yeah, and they've been a great friend to us as well with the Adirondack Wine and Food Festival and doing stuff with them. But the passports are huge to bring people in. The app, we have people come in all the time and say, I found you guys on here, and and we say, oh, well, where are you going next? Yeah. And they say, oh, we're going to go down this way, and we're going to stop here. And a lot of times those people who use the app, they also have the passport because they want to, check off as many as they can. Yeah,
that's me. It's beer Pokemon. Gotta drink them all. So, just a few more questions.
Please.
What made you decide, or what made the team decide to bring in cocktails on top of not just beer?
I think we know that not everybody's a craft beer drinker. So when it came to what else can we offer, under that farm brewing license, we're allowed to offer New York State craft wine and spirits as well. And so some of the spirits that we offer, in particular, I'll shout out, Yankee Distilling. They're down in Clifton Park, and they are also who we get a lot of our barrels from. So that partnership extends beyond just, hey, we want to serve your product. They serve our beer in their tasting room as well, because not everybody likes whiskey.
Yeah.
They're fools, but not everybody likes a whiskey or a bourbon or.
Hold on. I don't like mass-produced whiskey, but I like craft.
That's fair. Then you got to get to Yankee then, because for us, it's we'll serve your liquor, you'll serve our beer. Hey, by the way, we did one of my favorite kind of collaborations and examples of that community helping each other is that he made a bourbon and then gave us the barrel, which we put a coconut cream ale in and aged. And then we emptied it. Maybe it was a coconut. It was a coconut beer. Maybe it probably wasn't the cream ale. It might have been a stout. Anyway, we then took the beer out of the barrel, then gave him back the barrel to use again to age something else in. So it went 3 generations of use. Obviously, when he put something back in, it couldn't be called bourbon, but it was, we were able to kind of try all 3 things. Try the original bourbon, try the beer that we made, and then try what he aged then in that barrel after the fact, after it had that coconut and obviously all the beer flavors in there as well. So it's a matter of, what else can we offer people, because we want to get people in the door. And if it's a craft cocktail, a lot of our cocktails are, again, Adirondack themed, or, we've got the ADK Buck. We've got all kinds of things that just hopefully will get people here and then keep them here and say, oh, well, I can bring my wife or my husband, my partner, whoever it might be, who, isn't really a craft beer person. But in my mind, I'm also always saying, like, well, if you like that, maybe you should try the Russian Imperial Stout, because that's got some boozy notes to it. I'm always trying to find a way to sneak some craft beer in there for them.
And then the seltzers on top of that, because the seltzer crowd's becoming large.
Seltzer's been, so we flavor our seltzer kind of at the point of service.
Okay.
And what that allows us to do is just offer so many different varieties, whereas we could brew 4 batches of different flavored seltzer. This way we brew 1 batch and we can, do it that way. It's, for our size and for what we're doing, it's definitely the most efficient way for us to do it.
Who's the signed guitar?
That is from GemFest, which is a music festival that happens up here in Glens Falls. We host some of the acts here in the tap room. They're over at a venue called the Shirt Factory and a couple other spots around town as well. And the guy who puts it together, his name is Brian. He played that guitar.
Okay.
And then also got a bunch of the local the acts who were playing to sign it for us. And,
very cool.
They've been a great friend to us and promoting our beer and having us be part of the festival, and we try and do the same for them and host a couple of pre-concerts on the way leading up to the festival, but that just happened about a month ago.
It's that community, right?
Exactly. And
you got to be a tight-knit community, or else you guys probably wouldn't survive if you didn't
the
have
amount of
those
people who come in here, offering to pitch something, or they want we're always open to, do you need a donation for something? It's again, like you said, that same sense of community that we want to be a part of.
If you just get our beers across each other's borders, I would just drag you guys up to do stuff in Montreal, but
yeah,
you can't. And then finally, has Mean Max pulled in any statewide or USA awards when it comes to the beers?
We haven't submitted anything, at least not in my time here, and I don't think prior to that, to like Great American Beer Festival or anything like that. But I mentioned that Dark Matter took a medal at TAP New York. Rooster Comb also took a medal. Those the two that are hanging up back there. Rooster Comb also took a medal a couple of years ago. And then, like I said, I take just as much value from something like there was a Glens Falls Beer Festival that was down at the Cool Insuring Arena, and we took best overall beer, if I'm not mistaken, for the Pineapple Creamsicle. And so, something like that was just kind of a local event. We didn't bring home a trophy or anything like that, but I'll take it.
Still, with how crazy social media is, especially with craft beer drinkers, we look at social media to find our beer or to drink it. That's just a little name somewhere is, these guys won an award. I gotta go drink these guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the future of Mean Max in Glen Falls, Troy, and state of New York and beyond?
Continued growth, I think. That's really what we'd like to do. And like we mentioned a couple of times, just we're only a couple of weeks into Troy. And if that picks up the way that we're hoping to, we're going to find ourselves needing to make more beer pretty quickly. So that growth that hopefully comes along with that, we're really excited about Troy, really excited about the reaction that we've gotten so far and the reception, the welcoming open arms of the folks down in Troy. And we have people that come into the Glens Falls taproom and say, I'm so happy for you guys. That's so exciting. I can't wait to, people from up here saying, I want to go down to Troy and go see the new space and things like that. So I think we're really hopeful that we'll take a big step forward with that second location. And then who knows, sky's the limit. Make more beer, give Joel and I some new shiny toys to play with. And I think that would be a lot of fun, and, some automation. And we got a long wish list, and Joel and I are going to bring it up at a staff meeting.
You guys are just about to hit only 9 years here. You've only been on a couple of years. Joel, coming up on 9 years from the sound of it. Yeah. It's still a lot of room to play with. You guys are kind of a teen, not even a teenager yet.
No. In the grand scheme of craft beer, we're really young, but it certainly feels like we've been around for a lot longer. And I think the quality and the variety in what we're putting out seems like it comes from a far more established brewery. Fantastic beers. We tried the All Fluffed Up on our separate just podcast where we get together and drink beer, and everybody's like, oh my god, the peanut butter, I get a bit of that marshmallow. It's I just brewed that yesterday.
We all don't have the best palates in the world, but we all can get a little bit of everything, and we just enjoy the craft beer, and that's why we do this. And then the reason for the show is to get guys out like yourselves and ladies in the brewing industry. It's not just a guy's game anymore.
No.
Is the names out there, and that's why hopefully we're around. And we're also trying to make our viewers discover you, and for those who are trying to discover you, where can people find Mean Max at both locations?
So you can find us at 193 Glen Street in Glens Falls, and then at 251 River Street in Troy. We're on all social media at Mean Max Brew. That's Instagram and Facebook as well. I run both of those accounts, so if you want to shoot me a message, and we're so happy to have been on the podcast today, so shoot us some messages, let us know that you listen, post some pictures. We're always resharing everything that we get. Mean Max Brew on Instagram and Facebook as well.
The website?
meanmaxbrew.com.
Awesome.
Keeping it easy.
That's the best way to go. Speaking of easy, you can find us on allbeerinside.com as the website. Everything we've mentioned is going to be in the show notes. If you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe and hit the notification bell for all future episodes. Add All Beer Inside on all social media. As I say at the end of all episodes, drink craft, not crap.